Welcome back to Chatterbox Bearcats. I am your host, Hudson Klauke. We have Eric Lilly once again after an absolute debacle and travesty that we saw at Nippert Stadium on Saturday. To be outdone, quite frankly, by the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. So quite a sports weekend that we had here in Cincinnati. Got a great show for you, though, today. We're running on, Satterfield on the hot seat. Is Pittsburgh good? We're going to do the Bill Simmons segment. Is Pittsburgh actually good? We'll get into some of the worst losses as a UC fan, so that should be fun. And then we'll obviously preview Miami and talk a little bit of hoops to wrap it up. But first, Eric, give me your general reactions. I know you were on the gridiron yourself, boots on the ground at Nippert Stadium. How are we feeling after what transpired on Saturday?
Oh man, just devastated. Really, it felt like last year all over again. Um, Obviously, new quarterback, new players, but it's just another close loss. Like walking out of Nippert with that same feeling. Uh, and then yeah, the Bengals didn't do their part to flip the mood. So we've got a whole week of sadness here before we get to Miami and the Chiefs.
Oh yeah. This could happen all over again. Let's hope not. But we're not going to dwell on the loss. It was game two, but Scott Satterfield is how hot is his seat right now? I think everybody heard our takes. We had some Pittsburgh trolls in the YouTube comments, etc. We've had a couple of days to calm down, get our emotions in check a little bit. I'm still fired up about it personally, but what are your thoughts on Satterfield in that hot seat right now?
I'm fired up too, but I just think about coaches a little different than most people. I think it's just like you hear people say fire him today or all this stuff like that. It's just like it's not gonna happen. Like so, why even fantasize it? He he's getting 3 years, guys, and unless something crazy happens off the field, we would have to lose. We'd have to go 2-10, I think, on the field to make it happen soon. But during the season, he's getting this year. This is his, he's done the spin in the off season. This is the new year one. Talking about, he's even admitted he made a mistake by running it back with Fickle's crew, which I think is, I mean, we all know we can kind of connect the dots and figure out who the troublemakers were on the team last year. So, they're spinning it into like this new era. All the guys that stayed are really rallying around the new culture. And from a fan perspective, you watch it and it felt the same. But then you watch the post game press conference of the players and it's obviously different. Um, I just, you know, get the steam. You're mad, let it out, but it's not happening. I don't think like maybe a 1% chance after this season if it's brutal.
I agree. I agree. And I did say in the heat of the moment, I'm like, if we lose at Oxford, just leave Satterfield in Oxford. I don't think it's going to happen because you're right. The mojo or the vibe of the team is just much stronger. And we have Sorsby, who I think you were posting some stuff on the Bearcat bunch that QBR, I think he's got like top five in the country right now. So I think the ceiling is way higher than it was last year with Fickle's bunch. But we got to start getting some W's on the board, and that's going to start on Saturday. Obviously, we lost last year, but we'll get into that here in a second. Pittsburgh. So we had a lot of guys in the comments. Pittsburgh fans, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining. We had a shitload of Pittsburgh guys commenting that we're idiots, that Pittsburgh's actually going to be really good this year. Holstein, some guy said he might be a Heisman candidate. If you look just at the second half, listen, you played a UC defense that, all things considered, got kind of dominated by Towson the week prior and looked really good in the first half, shit the bed in the second half, couldn't stop a nosebleed. Do you think Pittsburgh might end up being a sneaky good team? That would look much better on Satterfield's resume if somehow they kind of get up in the top echelon of the ACC by chance. What were your thoughts on Pittsburgh?
I think they're all right. I mean, even if they win out, I would have the same exact feeling like we should have won the game. Like we took it to them, but I think they're decent. I think losing to them is going to get them to a bowl game now. That's how I look at it. Like they're kind of where we are, and obviously Holstein looks good. I also saw Pittsburgh fans saying they should bench him in the first half. So it's like decide what you want here. And then Desmond Reed looks like a star, honestly. So I could see him tearing up the ACC, but I didn't think their defense looked very good. They blitzed a ton, and I know the ACC is really familiar with Narduzzi's defense, how much they blitz, and I don't think they're gonna panic as much as maybe we did down the stretch.
Yeah. And when you got a guy like Desmond Reed, I mean, I was wowed by him. He looked like a prime Darren Sproles. I think you're going to see him playing on Sundays quite a bit at some point here. But after that loss, it stung. It was a little raw. I was like, I can't recall like a UC football loss, at least in particular. But we wanted to at least put together some of the most memorable UC losses that you can remember. I know there's plenty of them before we were of age of really watching. I mean, the ones that stick out to me personally was obviously everyone's going to say that Nevada game. What was that, 2018? We blew a 22-point lead. I think that was like the biggest lead that had been blown in the NCAA tournament in like a decade or 20 years, something like that. And we had the roster that truly could compete for like a Final Four easily. I thought they had an easy run, honestly, if they won that game. This one's a little different because I don't think our ceiling is a college football playoff berth. But that 22-point lead against Nevada for me, the 2010 Sugar Bowl. I don't know if you recall that one. I'm sure you do. That was when I was like, I don't know, I was what, 17, 18 years old at that time. Tim Tebow, we finally got to a big BCS bowl. Brian Kelly was out the door, and we got the doors blown off. I think it was like 40-3 entering like the middle of the third quarter. Those two losses in particular stick out to me. And then there was one, 2002, I think Steve Logan's year. We lost in the second round. I felt like we lost in the second round every damn time when we were like a one seed. Those are the three, and this one is up there as far as UC football is concerned. This is up there because blowing that type of lead, we both had UC -1.5. You might have taken a money line, even worse. I thought that was in the bag almost the entirety of the game. But for
It
you,
was.
you're a diehard, you're a diehard UC fan. You got all the analytics down. You got your spreadsheets. What UC losses stick out to you as some of the worst?
Man, I've been to almost all the games you mentioned, so I like that. That just got me a little. The Florida game didn't get me as much. I don't know. It's like being there and like being a part of the party. Like it was simultaneously awful, but also like one of the best trips of my life, if that makes sense. And bowl games, they don't always do it for me.
Yeah, we were happy to
Uh,
be there. You're right. You're right.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I thought we'd put up a fight. You know, it was pathetic
Well,
still. But yeah, Nevada's the number one. I was there. We were looking at tickets for the next game at halftime, thinking about going to Atlanta. And I mean, you saw the stat. I'm sure everyone saw it that if we just dribbled the ball out every possession in the last half, in the second half, we would have won the game. Like just turn it over by running the clock out. That's number one by a mile. The Kenyon injury, it's not a specific game. I guess you could say the Tulsa game we lost in the second round in 2000. Um, but I was younger. But as an adult, like that Yukon full court shot, that thing got me good.
mm,
We ended up being in the facing the one seed that year because of it. Like I think we could have jumped up to the seven seed and uh, gotten a better draw if we didn't lose that game. Um, I would say basketball this year, like last year, every time you thought we were putting it together, we would lose a heartbreaker. Like there's like a number of games, like the Texas game, right after we beat BYU, we're like floating around, like we're back. And then we lose to Texas like that, on a little controversial play. The West Virginia game, both Oklahoma games. I think even like maybe the Oklahoma State game at home was like heartbreaking because like you thought
Oklahoma State at home. Ooh,
you
that was
thought like
bad.
we're past this part, like like we keep losing these big games. Maybe we'll just beat all the scrubs and then we lose that at home. And then I'm going to say Miami of Ohio last year. It just felt like, we have Oklahoma coming the week after. We're going to be undefeated. I mean, the setting was still amazing. It was like out of a movie, but just think of what it would have been if we were undefeated. Like, I think it would have been a little louder, a little crazier, a little more dreaming. And just to lose that in that fashion was gutting.
Oh God, we just made this one of the most depressing
There's a ton of
podcasts
them.
in human history. There's so many. There are so many, and you're right. That Miami game last year could have turned the tides on the season. I mean, I don't think we would have been some great team, but I think after that, people lost confidence, realized, hey, maybe we're not that good. They started playing that way. Yeah, UC basketball usually hits a little bit closer to home for me. I don't know why. I get way more pissed off watching UC collapse. That Oklahoma State game that you just reminded me of, oh my God. That was like the one game that we checked off on the schedule, like, oh, we'll win that one. No, absolutely not. Those guys played unreal. Credit to Oklahoma State, but holy hell. Hopefully things turn around, okay? Because if UC loses to Miami in
Not this year.
Oxford, if they do that, and then the Bengals proceed to get just demolished by the Chiefs. I might have to just take a hiatus from watching football for give me another 6 weeks on the IR or anything like that. I don't know, but let's jump into. Listen, this is not a gimme at all. I think the spread right now is -2.5. We're playing noon at Oxford. Again, we lost last year. What was the final? 31-24 in OT last year at Nippert. Obviously, brand new teams. Um, how are we feeling about playing Miami? What are we thinking as far as what we're going to see in Oxford? Is this going to be a dogfight?
I try to not let the last game change my opinion too much. Before the season, I was feeling a little more confident about this one. Miami lost a lot of big names from their team last year, and don't get me wrong, they returned a lot of guys too, but they lost their receiver that scored on the first play of the game last year. He went to South Carolina. They lost their best edge rusher, Woolard. He went to Oklahoma. They lost their kicker to Bama. They lost their running back to Ole Miss. Like, in this current landscape, it's just in my head, it's like the MAC teams cannot reload that fast when they lose four guys to SEC teams. All four of those guys in the SEC. Um, and then they do return their star linebackers, so we didn't have trouble running on them last year. I don't think we're going to have trouble running on them this year, regardless of how good their linebackers are. But their offensive line looks good. They returned Gabbert. We know Gabbert killed us last year. He had more than half of his season total in rushing yards in one game, which was against us somehow. We just let him run all over us, and this is a guy that does not run. So maybe this little 3-3-5 thing will work out with that. I don't know. We'll see. Uh,
I mean, with people kind of forget that Miami was a solid team last year. I think they finished what? I'm pulling it up, 11-3. So I mean that was no
yeah.
cakewalk by any means. That was a good
Mm-hmm.
football team, and they do return. They lost a number of guys, like you said. I totally agree with trying to reload. I think their coach specifically mentioned that Alabama legally stole their kicker. But yeah, that's happening all over the place. They see a guy which sucks for these coaches too, because they're like, no, I did my job and I recruited a guy that was under recruited and ended up paying the dividends that nobody saw on him. And then the second he's good, they poach him. So a tough job to be a MAC football coach right now, and really anywhere in college. I mean, guys are getting poached left and right. You got to recruit your own players, and they can't compete with NIL money that Miami's trying to throw out to these kids to keep them. So it's very difficult. But Miami, their last game, they played Northwestern. Very hard to tell. Is Northwestern any good? We don't know. I think they lost to Duke by a touchdown here last week. Miami, for whatever reason, I don't know how the schedule panned out that way. So they aren't haven't played since what, August 31st. So they're going to be almost 2 weeks full of rest. I don't know how much rest is important this early in the year. Um, but I do think as far as rushing the ball, I don't think they're going to have that attack like Desmond Reed. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of guys like him. So hopefully that 3-3-5 defense can sustain themselves and Sorsby can get back on track. I thought he had an unbelievable first half. I don't even think he played a bad second half, but just the offensive strategy seemed to shift a little bit. Our offensive line had some trouble protecting him, I thought. But I think if we can just give him a clean pocket and our defense can just hold slightly and not give up a number of touchdowns, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, yeah, and something to watch. Hurricane Francine is coming up through Louisiana tonight, and the remnants are supposed to hit Ohio on Saturday. So there's a chance it shifts to the west, apparently. I know you guys weren't expecting a weather report here, but there's a chance that this game is just rain, rain, rain. But I think we'll have a better idea here maybe by tomorrow. But I can't decide if that's favorable to us or not. I mean, we ran all over them last year. You're right about the line. We're missing Philip Wilder. He's out for I think it's going to be about a month, and the backup we had to do a little shift around. Buford's in now, and he has not been doing very well. So hopefully the run, at least the run blocking, will be able to get us like just pound them. Like we're in the Big 12, you're not type game. But I mean, we all saw NIU beat Notre Dame. We all saw Bowling Green almost beat Penn State. So it's a little bit of a wake up call.
No, yeah, don't sleep on the Mac. Maybe you're right. You're right. Bowling Green was in a battle against a top 10 team at Penn State. NIU just beat Notre Dame. I mean, yeah, maybe the MAC is a juggernaut this year. So we better gear up. I don't think we're going to be overlooking this game at all. Maybe if we would have squeaked one out against Pitt, this is a rivalry still. I don't care what, if you want to look at the overall numbers, it shouldn't be a rivalry, but we did just come off a loss. I think you got to give Kiner the ball early and often. I think Satterfield and some of his post-game presser was even referencing that when he looked back at the box score and how many carries he had in the second half. He's like, oh shit, yeah, maybe we should have give Connor the ball. Yeah, we should have. That 2nd and 1 will haunt me till the day I die. But yeah, I think if we can kind of impose our will, and because I assume we're going to get up early again, because I think our offense is really that talented. I think we got weapons all over the place. You got to be able to close the game. And I think a lot of that's on coaching. You can say what you want about Satterfield. I don't think he's a complete moron. I think him and his staff are going to figure out a way to strategize a game and close a game when you're up 3 possessions. And I'm hoping we get to see that early lead again, because that makes everything a lot easier. Obviously, we didn't see that in the second half last Saturday, but hopefully we can do that and kind of jump on their throats early.
Yeah, and there is like a little. I mean, it's awful. Obviously, you run the ball, right? In hindsight, even in the moment, everyone like I'm up in the upper deck, had some drinks in me. I'm like, why are we not running the ball there? And then I haven't seen many people talk about it because they're just um, upset with Satterfield and saying the fire Satterfield stuff. But I found it interesting that he mentioned that those 2 calls towards the end there were RPOs, and which obviously in the first reaction is just run the ball, like just run it with Kiner. He's gashing him. But then my second thought was, well, I mean, that's pretty cool that he trusts a red shirt sophomore in his second game here to run RPO in those situations. I think it says like a lot about what he thinks of Sorsby. I know that's like a hell of a spin on the situation. It's awful we lost. It's embarrassing. But like in the long haul, like I feel like it says something. Like how many micromanager coaches are out there with their quarterbacks. So maybe it's a sign that like maybe we got a guy here.
No, maybe you're right. And especially in college. I mean, hell, there's coaches in the NFL that micromanage their quarterbacks. I like that. Maybe we'll have a segment. If we keep losing games, we're just gonna have a spin zone segment where you come up with some, the grass is
Oh,
greener,
I'm good at spinning.
the other side of the coin. Because I like that. I like that. Any other thoughts as far as Miami? I think it's pretty simple. We got to get a W, or I mean, the picket fences, the pitchforks, they're going to be out and about. And I don't. Have you ever gone to actually? Have you gone to a game in Oxford before? Have you watched a game there?
Yeah, when I was in college, we went a couple times, or those first two, long time ago. I can't go this weekend because of the dreaded fall, not dreaded fall wedding, dreaded fall baby shower that I am being obligated to attend. I'll be watching on my phone. Uh, don't ask.
Yeah.
But the I'm gonna be watching that, like Miami's running back. He's 6 foot 235. He's a tank. He was their backup last year. He only had 100 yards, but and he didn't go crazy versus Northwestern. But we gotta I think we got to make him throw the ball. Like we can't let him gash us like Pitt did. I think Pitt kind of gashed us in the first half with runs. I think we just need to take that out of the game. We can't let that big guy run us over, you know. So it's nice that Corleone's playing a lot. He played, I guess last week 30 to 40 snaps. I think he ended up playing 49. So if we can get that again, hopefully they don't try us there.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It just unfortunately, what we've seen is people have been able to impose their will running the football. And when you're getting, 7, 8 yards a carry, it's very difficult, especially for the secondary too. You try to bring more guys in the box, that opens up the field. So I 100%, I'm guaranteeing the coaches are agreeing there that we got to stop the run first, deal with the pass second. Hopefully we can do it, but we've seemed to make a lot of running backs look very good, who might not be that good. So, and Desmond Reed is the exception there. That guy, I think, is a freak of
Yeah.
nature, and I think he's going to be a stud all season long. But we haven't seen much. I know this kid's played like 4 games with, 20 total carries, had 30 yards or so against Northwestern, but Northwestern usually puts together, I mean,
Mhm.
it's a Big Ten defense. So I'm assuming we're going to be a little weaker than them in the trenches.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dante Corleone playing always helps in any scenario. I'd assume we might even see more of him, but he actually played more than we were anticipating. He played a lot of snaps. So hopefully we see more of him. We could shut down that run game. And if we lose to Miami at Miami, the reason I asked you if you ever watched a game there, the atmosphere, I'm not shitting on Oxford, Miami. We love Brick Street. Come on. It's not going to be Big 12 level as far as an atmosphere is concerned. So you got to take care of business, especially it's the last game of the rivalry. They shut it down, folks. We cannot go out on a losing note. We just can't have it happen.
Nope. And the total is 46 and a half. I think that says something. You know, I think it's the projected score is what, at 24-21 in that scenario. So get the lead, control a game. Don't do the same thing as last week. You know, we lost control of the game, even though we were in a spot to where we should have controlled it and won the game. So,
Well,
and yeah, maybe the weather will help us with the environment a little. Maybe it won't be rowdy at all.
yeah, no, that could be the case. That being said, -3.5 is the line I'm seeing as we're recording. It is a Tuesday night. What are you thinking about that? I know we both lost in heartbreaking fashion. Do we
You know
just
me.
keep the train rolling? Because I'm gonna be itching to take this line. I really am. What
Run
are
it
you
back,
thinking?
baby.
Let's
uh,
do it.
I have a lot of priors, like preseason priors in my head, because like Cover Three podcast, Bud Elliott does a great job with like analyzing talent, and he has like a 5-star rating based on like your recruiting, like how talented your teams are. He's decent with rating teams, power rating teams based on Vegas lines and stuff like that. And he said the MAC is so down this year, which it's funny to say this now that we saw last weekend. The MAC is so down this year that the best team in the MAC this year would be a full touchdown underdog to Miami last year. So I have that stuck in my head, especially with them losing their star players and all that. So it's like I'm gonna bet on it, of course, but probably not too much.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's safe. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna jump on the train again. You only
Why
lose if you
not?
quit for good. Okay, well, there's money to be made out there. Vegas doesn't want us betting the Cats. I promise you. -3.5. We'll probably both be on it. Um, but switching gears a little bit, we do have a little bit of an update as far as UC basketball is concerned. Um, Halvin Dezelit, I'm probably absolutely butchering that pronunciation. You tell me if I'm wrong or if you got a little French background. I don't know. But 6'10" power forward from France, 19 years old. I don't think he's got a whole lot of experience. Kind of seems like a project, if you will. But certainly a lot of talent, very lengthy. From what I've read, he can kind of play multiple positions, at least from a defensive standpoint. A little bit of a work in progress from the offensive side of the ball. What did you think as far as this pickup we had? Because this kind of came out of nowhere for me, at least.
Yeah, you started hearing murmurs like a week ago on the Trilly Discord about like us going for a foreign guy, and I know Drew Adams was out there at FIBA, a couple FIBA tournaments over the summer, because it's getting increasingly popular to add these international guys, even like late in the summer, right before the season. And someone did it last year where they redshirted the. I can't remember who it was, but they're doing the same thing we. They did the same thing we are doing, and to integrate the player, learn English, meet your teammates, practice with the team, and it's a little weird to redshirt. I actually think he's 20 years old now, so he'll be 21 by the time he plays, which is very old for a freshman. But also, it's like we're going to be losing a lot of guys after this season. Four at the minimum, with all the seniors and Aziz. There's a thing out there that Aziz might have an extra year if he wants it because of the whole anybody that had to sit out, like him and Jamil, those guys, they might be eligible for an entire year. I haven't heard an update on that, but that would be crazy. And I don't know if
Really?
he would use it. So I'm just going off the thing where he's out of here. So like that's five. I've got my scholarship sheet pulled up here. So Day Day Thomas, Hickman, Frederick, Lukosius, Aziz. That's our five seniors. And then Skilling said he's gone. That's six. We might lose a guy to a transfer. Maybe Dylan Mitchell goes pro. Maybe Jizzle goes pro. Like we could have seven openings here. And we're not even offering that many high school guys. So like this feels like a proactive move to get someone in, get them practicing, integrate them to the team, and you've got less business to do in the spring when the portal's open. And if he sucks, then I think you could even just maybe he would transfer. But either way, it's like we don't have many big men on the team next year. We honestly don't have many this year. So if Aziz leaves, we have Page and McKinley next year. So this just gets a guy in there, and we kind of see what we got in practice throughout the year.
And I don't hate taking a flyer on a 6'10" guy from France, seeing what he can do, get him acclimated. Initially, when I saw that, the Trilly Discord, I'm like, who the hell is leaving then? Where's this scholarship coming from? But uh, I'm not sure how that works, but I guess they got him agreed just to kind of redshirt, come in, get acclimated with the program, which I think is awesome and is going to be great for him coming, an international player. But I don't hate taking a flyer on a guy like this. He could develop into something special. I know he was playing for the FIBA France team, under 20 team captain. So maybe he's a good locker room guy too. Take that into
Mm,
account. But yeah, I mean, I
that
think this is
matters.
like you said, it does. It does. Like you said, I think Wes is trying to be a little proactive, get some guys in the building. And again, he's not going to be playing this year. Hopefully, he can develop a little bit, practice with these guys because we got a lot of studs across this roster. So I think this could end up turning out well. Again, we don't know. There's not much information really about him at all. There's some highlight tapes on him, but obviously the potential is through the roof. But a guy like this, you don't have the 247 write up, the rivals write up, things like that. So, yeah,
We
who's
get
to say
two
no?
minutes of
The
video. That's all we
6'10"
got.
guy. Yeah, right. That's all you got on him. But yeah, so UC Hoops making moves. Wes Miller does not sleep, folks, even in the offseason. He does not sleep. But that will do. Lily, you got anything before we wrap this thing up? Any last thoughts, whether it be Miami, whether it be UC Hoops, anything on your mind?
Just real quick on the Frenchman, since I'm gonna wait till I know how to pronounce it. If 45 of his 48 shots were at the rim. I think all of us watched the same 2-minute video on him. There's not much on YouTube at all, but there's one mid-range shot he made that looked good. I just need to encourage UC fans to proactively remind yourself that he cannot shoot. He, the other 45 shots, he was the garbage man. He was, which is good because that's how we play. We're crazy offensive rebounding team. Honestly, I think you could probably put him in this year and get offensive rebounds, make layups, stuff like that. So don't fall for that one mid range, guys.
I love that disclaimer. You're getting UC fans prepped because you already know in the 2026 season, these guys are going to be, what the hell? This guy's got no jumper. We saw what Titus Rubles did. It ruined my life. So yeah,
Oh
all
my
right.
god.
He doesn't have a jump shot right now. That might develop. And the thing is, we don't need the guy shooting threes. Hopefully, we'll get some other guys on the roster that can handle that, and he can clean up, around the glass, do things like that, and then work on that mid-range game. He's got time. We got time, folks. So you heard it here first. Give him a little bit of time to develop that jump shot. He's going to be more of a glass cleaner type of guy, at least starting. We'll see what he develops into. But other than that, that wraps up the show. Again, Miami, we're going to be doing a live show after. I'm actually going to be gone. I don't have, shout out to that baby and the baby shower. Credit to them. I do not have a baby shower, but I got a little bachelor party that I'm going to be jumping around. But I'll be tuning in the game, of course. But Chuck will be doing the live show after the game Saturday. Should be around 2:30 or so whenever the game wraps up. Hopefully, I said this last time, but hopefully it's victory formation and we see the other side of hell. Okay. We see a little sunlight poking through after we take care of business in Oxford. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we'll see you on Saturday. Until then.
We'll see you next week after a win.